Okay. Okay, Professor. Well, as I was saying, you need to know your students or your class to know if you need to pay more attention to their fluency, if they speak already very well grammatically, but they are not fluent, or if you need to pay attention in the accuracy, if the students speak very fast, but they don't make sense in what they are saying. There are some aspects to have in count while grading that are the accuracy, the vocabulary, the linguistic ability, the fluency, and sometimes the content. You can add some aspects if you need, or you can take out if you need, or if you also need. But these are like the standards, the standards one. And my partner is going to continue.
And remember, whatever aspects you want to assess, you need to include them in the rubric as well as in the instructions, just like you did in writing. You need to tell the students accuracy in pronunciation, as well as fluency in conveying your message. Vocabulary and content will be taken into account and have them as one. Each of them should be a dimension in the rubric.
Yeah, in order to achieve like an inter-rater reliability, that is like the extent to which more than one rater agree in a score. So those categories that my partner already mentioned, I think the text suggests that they should be discussed with other graders in order to get like an agreement. And that's another consideration we should make before designing and speaking assessment, and is the grading procedure. We know that it can be subjective, but a way to overcome that issue is asking for two more graders. In the case of speaking, one other grader can play the role of an assessor, and the assessor just take notes on what the student is saying, and the other plays the role of the interlocutor. So he interacts with the student and asks questions and maybe like give the turn between them when the conversation doesn't flow. And after leaving the discussion with the student, before the student leaves, they discuss like the marks and make an average. For this, it is time saving, I think. In order to save time, we can like design previously a criteria or like a checklist where we can mark the characteristics of the student's speech, so that we are also a section for comments. So we are listening and writing, and there is not the necessity to record the student in this way.
Yes, in regards to the slide, you need to explain a little bit about the slide.
Yes, this was at the end of the considerations before designing the speaking assessment, and this is like the type of speech that we can wait from the student. So those are some characteristics that the speech should have, so that it should have a purpose, that the student finds that he's talking of something that is authentic. And also extended chunks of speech, there is what permits us as teachers to grade or to establish which is the level of the student. We can also grade the organization and the required elements that we say the students he should include in the speech.
Absolutely. You need to provide instructions where you tell the student that they need to answer with more than just one word. They need to have extended chunks of speech so you can really get a feel for whether or not they can carry out their ideas, communicate their ideas. And where the amount of speech is controlled, you need to make sure that they don't go overboard, but they're not too limited. And where there are specific points that are required in the speech. That's all about how to give clear directions for the task. Thank you very much. Let's go with the next team, the next slide, which I think is Laura and Alejandro.
All right, so I'm going to begin. My partner and I, we're going to be focused on formal speaking assessment techniques. Before we start with this, I want to just state a couple of things about this part of the test. I consider this to be like very, very important information. It is going to provide us with like a series of steps that we should follow in order to create a successful speaking test. So first of all, and it's about the, how can I say this? Well, the number of times in which we should assess our students in an English course, and the test says is that it should be at least one per course, at least one time in which we assess the students to ensure that all the students are tested under reliable and standard conditions. Hughes stated something about the length of the speaking part, and it says that it shouldn't last longer than 10 minutes, but not less than 5 minutes. And well, to start with the different steps which are proposed by Kenel, I'm going to begin with the warm up and the level check, and my partner is going to explain the proof and the wind down steps.
Probe and wind down. Probe and wind down.
Wind down. So for the warm up, it's just something very simple. The purpose is just to start relaxing the students a little bit and lower their anxiety. So in order to do so, the first questions of the speaking are going to be like very simple. Like they're going to be focused on maybe things that our student may like or not, or dislike, or just simple questions that he can or she can like easily answer. This part is not gonna be assessed, and it shouldn't take longer than a minute probably. After this, the second step is gonna be level check. So this is when the things like are gonna getting serious, and the purpose of this is to determine the student level of speaking proficiency, and this is going to be developed through a series of different questions or situational activities. However, I'm not that sure about what are these situational activities, as that this is not specifying it. Maybe the professor can.
Yes, the thing with speaking is that you want to start asking questions, or like for example, like doing la semaforización, you start with very easy questions and start moving to more difficult, and then to get to the point where the student is at the level. So at first you start easy, and then you by the level of complexity of the questions and the way the students respond, you see you're there. You see, you don't want to jump into questions that are very sophisticated and beyond the student's proficiency level, because then you're going to get students frustration and embarrassment, and they may freeze. That's what that means.
Thank you, Professor. Finally, well, it is like obviously say that this part of the exam is assessed, and my partner is going to continue with the following.
Okay.
So the next is probe.
Probe is kind of like to test or to push, probing. Look it up, where somebody who can look up the definition of probing.
Yes, in this part, the examiner is trying to push the students to that height of his or her
Level.
speaking, yes, his level or speaking ability. And it says that another function can be as a confirmation of that previous level check. Also, in this part, we assess it if the students achieve or can go beyond her or his abilities. But if they have breakdown, communication breakdown, it won't be scored. And in the wind down, at that part, the examiner tried again to relax the student by asking questions. He says about, for example, about future plans. And it is also a part that is not scored.
And just to calm the student down and so he can walk away feeling okay. Wind down means to end, to wind down. And probing means to push, to test, to check, to see if the student is at his higher or her highest level. Is that it, guys?
Yes, Professor.
Okay, thank you very much. We don't have time to finish the rest. Next week, we will go with Veronica and Harlan with slides number 14 and 15. Nice to see all of my screen full of faces and nice to see you guys. Thank you for turning your cameras on. It makes such a difference. I'll see you guys on Tuesday. Start thinking about what kind of task